Hello and welcome to the Dream Depository. I'm Kelly Proudfoot.
And I'm Varun, guardian of the dream world.
We have quite a few dreams to get through in this episode.
Very well then, let us begin. I am excited to plunge into them.
Alright, what's the first one?
It is from Verissimo, who advises. Inside my dream, I hear a knock at the door. I go and see a person outside saying, "Open up, please." She is also sitting inside on the floor with her back against the door, saying, "Don't open the door, please." What does this recurring dream mean?
Okay, let's break this down. To start with, if a dream is recurring, it usually means that something is being ignored and the subconscious mind is trying to get the dreamer to focus on the issue.
Pardon me for interjecting, but I believe this dream has something to do with the mansion of the soul.
I agree, and as a side note, I'm wondering if the mansion represents the physical body of the dreamer or even the workplace. There's a knock at the door, which indicates an alert or a sign that something needs to be answered. When the dreamer sees a person outside asking to be let in, they also see them inside at the same time, sitting on the floor, asking the dreamer not to open the door. I sense that this is either to do with a physical need, maybe sustenance, or not wanting to allow change. It could also be to do with their career, or being offered a position, or even being forced into something the dreamer doesn't feel confident enough to do.
True. The bottom line is, there is a decision to be made and the dreamer doesn't know what to do.
Yes, and the person sitting on the floor against the door could indicate that the dreamer doesn't want whatever change or decision that needs to be made. It could represent an inner saboteur. The dreamer needs to assess what's going on in their life, whether it be their livelihood or health or physical or mental, and meditate on what needs to be fixed, accepted or rejected.
I concur. Shall we move on to the next?
Yes, please.
This one is from Erin. She asks, what does it mean if a person has recurring dreams of different themes, yet he or she is always stuck in an airport?
Well, I have this dream myself every now and then. The main theme is being stuck somewhere, and the airport indicates being in a holding pattern. A major form of travel, it could be that Erin has several choices offered to her in terms of going places or wanting to go places but feeling like she can never get there. It could be to do with her career, but it might also indicate that she feels like her hands are tied in terms of wanting to escape or living a different life, but not being able to take the first step. Maybe she's trapped by her own fears or feeling like something or someone is holding her back.
Is that how you interpreted this dream for yourself?
For me, I'm living in another country, and this dream makes me feel like I can't bridge the gap between my home here and my home in Australia. There's always a fear that I can't get back, whether stuck in an airport in Australia or here.
Poor baby.
Okay, that's enough.
Ha ha! Alright, moving on. Jack has posed a question that I know you also deal with. He asks, why when we dream ourselves younger and living in houses since we left years ago, I'm sorry about the grammar. I assume he means dreaming of our younger selves in places we used to live in years ago.
I have these kinds of dreams quite regularly. It usually pertains to the times in our past that either mirrors what we're going through now, and we are scanning our memories for solutions, or energies from within that hint at unresolved issues. I feel that when we dream of our former selves and the places we remember, it's like a time machine that gives us the opportunity to take a deeper look at what was going on then, as well as how our current circumstances link in with those memories.
I agree. Maybe Jack needs to do some soul-searching to unearth things from his past that are triggering in his current life.
Yes. What do we have next?
I get a feeling it's about the subconscious and emotions again. Solomon asks, what does it mean to dream of water leaking in my living room's entrance roof?
Oh yes, water indicates the subconscious, and since the water is leaking into the living room, which represents the personality we project to others when we take the mansion of the soul into consideration, it could mean that Solomon is having to deal with things rising up from his past, especially if it's to do with the emotions and unresolved issues. The living room also reflects a shared space with others, so this could indicate that others might be involved, like family members or friends. The fact that the water was leaking from the roof at the entrance shows that the emotions are brimming or just under the surface, waiting to be freed.
Therefore, the dreamer will have to deal with things that could, and pardon the pun, spill over.
Yes, and it could involve others who might either be experiencing the same level of emotionalism or who are involved with whatever issues are rising to the surface.
All right then, here's a dream from someone who advises something a little frightening. They say, I was having a dream that I was running away from some masked man and got stabbed in the stomach, and there was too much blood coming out of my stomach. What does it mean?
We've talked about the shadow before, and while it often represents a part of ourselves, it can sometimes represent another person or a situation. The fact that the person was masked indicates that they either don't want to be discovered or they're a part of the dreamer they're not aware of.
Who was that masked man?
Haha. The dreamer would do well to consider the possibility that they are self-sabotaging or doing harm to themselves without consciously knowing it. Being stabbed represents something trying to pierce through our consciousness. The stomach represents the receptacle for sustenance, so being stabbed there could mean that there's something wrong physically.
Like a diagnostic dream?
Yes. Or it could mean that they are not taking care of themselves, whether it's food or other things they're ingesting. Bleeding usually represents a loss of energy, so the dreamer could be feeling low energy in real life. If it were me, I'd take a good look at my eating habits and what I'm ingesting. I'd also take a look at how I'm living and if my body needs medical attention.
Very well then. Here's another spooky dream. What is the meaning of this dream? I am sitting on a chair on the roof reading a book, and suddenly a horrible face appears in front of me and I get up in fear.
Let's start with sitting on the roof, which is the part of the mansion of the soul that represents our head. The fact that the dreamer was reading a book could mean that they are involved in an activity that includes education and learning. When the horrible face appears, it could represent someone who was annoyed or against the dreamer learning and possibly paving the way to a better life. Otherwise, it could mean that the dreamer feels that the path they've chosen for themselves is either dangerous or against what they've been taught.
There's also the explanation of the subconscious dredging up images as the dreamer falls asleep, so I wonder if they had this dream while dropping off.
Yes, I've had several episodes of seeing terrifying faces as I drift off to sleep, which usually jolt me awake. As we fall asleep, the subconscious starts to take over and random images begin filtering through as we settle into REM sleep.
Oh, I like that band. Shiny, happy people holding hands.
Okay, let's not regress, Varun.
All right, party pooper. Here's an interesting dream. What does this dream mean? Where I find a Doberman in the trunk of a car protecting some kind of stash. I reach out to take the stash, and he takes me in a violent embrace, growling but not biting me, yet does not want to let me go.
It would be good to know what kind of a stash, but I assume that it involves money or something valuable. To start with, the car symbolises how we travel through life, and since the focus is on the trunk, it could represent the dreamer's livelihood and what they deem worthy to take with them as they travel through life. The Doberman could symbolize the dreamer in terms of the integrated self, not wanting to let go of all the valuable things and experiences the dreamer has collected while going through life. Dobermans are often used as guard dogs, and maybe the dreamer guards their gifts, skills, or belongings closely, but they are currently facing a threat that could take those valuable things away. They could be considering a different path through life, and they're unconsciously worried about losing everything.
Yes, and the dog clinging to the dreamer might be a warning that they're about to throw it all away.
That could be possible. Let's move on to the next dream.
Well, we have so many to choose from. I feel like we have a veritable smorgasbord, but here's a simple one from Nate. Is it normal to have nightmares every time you sleep?
Not so simple, actually. It's not normal to have nightmares every time you sleep, whether it's something simple like eating the wrong things before going to bed, like cheese, spicy foods, or coffee.
All wonderful things, if you ask me.
Yes, but not before bed. When we're digesting things that are either hard to digest or cause digestive issues, it can affect our dreams. It might be that the dreamer has a lot of worries or disturbing problems in their waking life which are infiltrating their subconscious mind. Stress, anxiety, and depression can trigger nightmares along with problems we continue to ignore or hide from. I suggest that the dreamer take stock of how their lives are going, reduce the stressors and triggers that affect their well-being, and focus on creating a good nighttime ritual where sleep is optimized by eating well and taking care of themselves.
I concur. Now, moving on, Wen asks, and I read it verbatim. What does a reoccurring dream mean about going to the lunchroom just as it is closing and all the food is gone?
This is a classic dream about feeling that you're not getting what's deserved or feeling unfulfilled. It's about missed opportunities and feeling like you're being starved, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally. Maybe Wen is at a stage in life where time seems to be running out. It could indicate that they feel they didn't get their fair share, whether food, love, or even a promotion. Wen needs to ask, what am I missing out on? What are my needs? What is holding me back? Things like that. Hopefully the answer will be obvious.
Oh, very deep. Let's look at this one. John advises, I became the Flash in my dream. What does it mean? The Flash? Is he going through menopause?
No, silly. The Flash is a cartoon character, a superhero who has special powers, namely the ability to run and speed around so fast that no one can see him or catch up. This dream could be wish fulfillment in terms of wanting to be powerful and effective in his waking life. Becoming a superhero or someone with great powers and skills in dreams often indicates that there's a desire to be considered special, to be recognised for our work, abilities, skills, and so on. John might be feeling that no one takes him seriously, or he might be wishing that things in his life like his career, accomplishments, or creations will be or are received favourably by others.
Yes. He might be stagnating and wishing that things would hurry up and eventuate already.
Precisely.
Let's answer this question, which is from G. Rose, who asks, what does it mean to dream about someone with 2 broken arms? Well, no hugging to start with.
Varun, get serious.
I am serious. It could very well indicate that someone is emotionally detached.
Okay, that could be possible.
Let me remind you, silly wench, you are not the dream queen.
Neither are you.
No, but closer than you. Regardless, let us get on with it.
Okay, we use our arms to do many things, such as hugging,
Quite.
holding, carrying things, pushing, and so on. A person who has 2 broken arms could indicate that the dreamer feels unable to accomplish things or feeling blocked from being able to create or complete things. They could be dealing with someone, as Varun advised, who is emotionally detached or unwilling to give things like love, consideration, assistance, or something required or needed by the dreamer.
Let me guess. Further analysis is needed?
Always. Every time we analyse a dream, we need to take a good look at ourselves and figure out what the subconscious could be trying to tell us. What's next?
Well, Fernando is asking a question that is dream adjacent.
Dream adjacent?
Yes. He asks, why does one wake up and can't restart a dream?
Oh. Many people are annoyed that they can't do this, especially when it was a lovely dream involving pleasant surroundings, sumptuous food, wish fulfillment.
Don't forget sex.
Of course. When we wake up from a dream and try to re-enter it, it usually results in something different, mundane, or even horrible. We've talked about lucid dreaming before, and a good trick might be to either go straight back to sleep while replaying the imagery in our minds, or staying up for a while and writing the dream down to solidify it in our consciousness. Tell yourself that you will revisit the dream when you go back to sleep, and hopefully you'll succeed. The thing is, our patterns and brain waves alter between our waking and dreaming minds, so it makes sense that it's harder to get back into the dream when we wake up.
Practice makes perfect.
That's true. Let's move on.
All right, here's a sad one. Ash advises, I keep having dreams about the people who hurt me on my birthdays, and my birthday was ruined by them. I always wake up panicking and full of guilt. Is that a sign? A sign of what, pray tell?
Well, the main symbol is birthdays. They are significant to us since they're anniversaries of our birth, and like signposts or milestones, they mark a transition of sorts into a new year or phase in our lives. When other people ruin or ignore us on our birthdays, it hurts because it's like we've been deemed unimportant or unworthy. Obviously, Ash is still hurting from past problems related to their birthdays where others ruined them, but I'm curious about the statement that refers to waking up in a panic and feeling full of guilt.
Maybe Ash still feels like those people pose a threat or will do it again.
That's possible, but the guilt?
I can only surmise, but there could have been something Ash did to compel the ruining of the birthdays.
It's hard to say without knowing more. The question about it being a sign might refer to needing to address it with the others if Ash is still in contact with them. Maybe there's a residue of feeling ignored or unimportant.
Quite. Oh, here's another dream-adjacent question. Sashin asks, what happens in the mind when one rarely dreams?
There have been countless studies about dreaming, and most experts agree that we all dream, whether we remember them or not. I've met people who say they don't dream, but it could be that they sleep so heavily or lightly that they don't recall their dreams when they wake up. When I've suggested that they try to program themselves to remember their dreams, they shrug it off. So if people don't consider dreaming important, that could indicate why they don't remember them.
I suppose that is the same for those who rarely remember their dreams. What a pity.
Yes, it is. Dreaming is like entering another world, but as you said before, practice makes perfect.
True. Oh, here's a dream that reminds me of the one you had several years ago. Why don't we decipher this dream first, which was sent by Nelson? Then we can revisit your dream.
I suppose that could be helpful.
All right. Nelson asked, what does dreaming about pigeons mean?
Like other animals, it depends on how the dreamer feels about the creature they dreamed about. Animals also represent the self, so if dreaming of pigeons, you'd need to ask what they mean to you. You can look at the creature and their habits to see if anything resonates with your personality. Some people call pigeons sky rats, since they are prevalent and found almost everywhere around the world. Some people breed homing pigeons as a hobby, and others love to feed them in the park, and so on. In animal totemism, the pigeon represents restoration of faith in the world, especially if you've been hurt or in a dark place for a long time. Pigeons mate for life, so it could be to do with feelings of loneliness or yearning for love. It would be good to know what the pigeons were doing in the dream. Was there one or two or many? Were they flying, eating, or perching?
Yes, now share your dream. It was bizarre, just like you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, I had this dream in 2015 and the title was Falling Birds. It's a short dream where I was walking down a city street and saw grey pigeons falling out of the sky. I saw two land in separate trees and something told me that there was an ecological disaster causing them to fall. When I went up to the first bird, it was limp and laying on a branch, but still moving a little. I picked it up and held it in my hands, wondering how to help it. When I went to the second tree, I saw that the bird was a little more alert. I got close to it and opened its beak to reveal a tiny grey 3D printed cube inside its mouth. I saw that the other bird also had one in its mouth, and I tried to carry them both into a building to find a work colleague to help the birds. As I walked along, I worried that the birds would die, and when I got to my work colleague, he was blasé about them and said they'd get better soon. I felt that he was brushing me off. The themes I recorded was environmental calamity, illness, and looking for answers. The symbols included the sky, grey birds, 3D cubes, beaks or mouths, and trees. The emotions involved in the dream included worry and concern and confusion, and the archetypes were birds and the animus in regards to the work colleague. The interpretation I recorded at the time, I felt that it was telling me about my physical state. I'd been improving my diet and exercising, and also discovered that my thyroid medication was too strong. Birds symbolise ideas and thoughts as well as vehicles for escape and freedom. I feel that they also symbolised my high hopes for my books, falling out of the sky representing the lack of sales, etc. I'd been disappointed with the progress and success of my writing and even told my husband that I felt like giving up. He told me that it was just a slump and to keep going and that one day I would have success if I kept plugging at it. Also, the pleasure I get from writing and sharing ideas and stories is one of the main reasons I write. The 3D cubes in their beaks and mouths are still a mystery, if not related to my thyroid medication, or although I could interpret them to mean concrete or three-dimensional ideas and solutions within the fallen or failing ideas. For example, the birds, which could have represented ideas in my books and so on, they weren't staying afloat due to the methods I was using and not using to market and promote. The 3D cube could symbolise the fact that there's something solid there, but I had to find a solution. Trying to get my work colleague to help could indicate my frustrations with the public and potential readers, not seeming to be interested in what I have to offer. In regard to the environment, it could represent how I felt about not wanting to jump through the hoops and produce what I felt were frivolous works just to garner attention and sales. It might have also indicated how I felt about my frustrations at work and my life in general, especially when low or depressed, thinking that no matter what I do, it was an uphill battle with no reward. I felt that I needed to analyse that dream more, but it did seem to symbolise my malaise. I'd been half-hearted in terms of my writing, so maybe this dream simply reflected those feelings, indicating a need to be more scientific or well-rounded. Trees can symbolise the integrated self. They were mostly barren in the dream. So maybe it showed how I felt about myself and my life at the time. The ideas and thoughts were there, but they didn't seem to get off the ground.
And here you are 7 years later doing so much more with your writing.
Yes, true. Thanks, Varun.
That was not a compliment.
Well, if it wasn't for my writing, you wouldn't exist.
Yet here I am, helping you. Do you feel foolish, arguing with yourself?
You're not me.
Thank goodness.
Shall we do a few more?
Certainly. Here's one from Jerry, who asks, does your dream affect your future?
Not only that, but they affect how we see the past and present. In a previous episode we talked about dreams that have predicted future events, but if taken literally, all dreams have the capability of predicting the future in terms of the subconscious mind dredging up imagery to show us the status quo. If we take note of our dreams and decipher them, they can reveal issues and situations which we can work on to create our future by deducing what they mean and taking steps to address the problems, finding solutions and incorporating the changes needed in our waking lives.
It is like learning from the past to ensure that the same mistakes are not repeated in the future.
Yes, that's part of it. Sometimes dreams can change our minds, whether it's about our relationships, ourselves, or our lives.
Good. Here's one from Barbara. She asks, what is the purpose of far-out and far-fetched dreams? Why do we have weird and unusual dreams?
There's a difference between our conscious and subconscious minds. In waking life, we live in a world where facts and order matter. We are always striving to make sense of the world and our place in it, along with abiding by rules, regulations and societal norms. Our subconscious minds receive impressions from the conscious world, and when we dream, we are shown those impressions, thoughts and memories in the form of symbols. Symbolism is the language of the subconscious mind, which is why they can seem bizarre or far-fetched. We assume that the dreams are weird and unusual because we spend most of our time in the conscious world, where everything is concrete and supposed to make sense. Trying to decipher our dreams in a strictly factual or orderly fashion can be difficult.
True. We need to remember that dream language and imagery is on a deeper level, where imagination and creative thinking is needed in order to understand them.
Of course, that doesn't mean that they're meaningless. Often they are more meaningful than our waking lives. Our subconscious distills our impressions and thoughts, resulting in kernels of truth that reflect what's really going on.
Lovely. Well, the next dream is similar to one we've already answered. Sashin asks, why can't some people dream at all?
Yes, Sashin was the one who asked the previous question, but they've just rephrased it. So we did cover it, but I would add that medications or mental afflictions can impede our ability to remember dreams.
All right, let us make haste. I sense my seahorse minions approaching.
Okay, what's the next one?
Oh, this is a good one to end on. Abton asks, what does this dream mean? Their end is my beginning.
Yes, that's interesting. Their end is my beginning. Sometimes we don't necessarily dream, but words, phrases and sentences can drift up from our subconscious. This dreamer might be in a position where they're either benefiting from the demise or failures of others, or they could be profiting from an inheritance. It would be nice to know the circumstances surrounding the dreamer's life.
They might have ended a relationship and now they're blooming.
Or they could have recently beaten someone in a competition and taken over the title. Whatever the circumstances are, Abton might be starting a new life, endeavour or career where they're picking up where someone else or others left off.
Oh, I hear my seahorse minions calling for me. Adieu until next time, dear listener.
What about me?
Goodbye.
Alright, fine. So, listener, thanks for listening and spending time in the Dream Depository. If you have any dreams you'd like to share, either email me at kellyproudfoot@gmail.com or post them on Quora. Until next time, sweet dreams.